Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto received more than will of fire from Hashirama. What if it was something tangible with the blood of Shodai running through his veins? What changes will come to the Naruto verse? Before we start, don't forget to give a like and subscribe to this channel for more what ifs, and check the description for creator of this great fanfic. So let us start. Disclaimer. I do not own Naruto. Chapter 23. Cat in the Leaf. On the road back to the Kumo were two figures walking. Actually, only one of the two was walking. The other was being carried piggyback style by the former. Yugito sat comfortably on Naruto's back as they traveled slowly back to her home village. Two of the most powerful ninjas in the world at the moment, yet they were posed with an interesting predicament, brought on by a few choice words. "We need to talk," said Naruto in a serious tone with an equally as serious face. Yugito's laughter died down from a previous joke at the seriousness. "I thought we were talking," questioned Yugito curiously as Naruto's stone face never changed. "That's not what I mean. What I meant was that something just doesn't feel right. Right about us," said Naruto as Yugito began to worry slightly. "Is this what I think it is? Did I do something wrong?" questioned Yugito internally. "He just told me he loved me. Kitten, before he can do it, just ravish him immediately. That'll get him out of this mood he's in," said Yugito's partner, Matabi. Yugito was too into the conversation with Naruto to even acknowledge her partner's indecent suggestion. "What's going on, Naruto-kun?" Naruto blew out a sigh before answering. "We've been dating for over 16 months and you've never once made me a sandwich." A few seconds passed by before Yugito decided to answer. "I'm going to make that sandwich and then choke you with it for scaring me like that," said Yugito with a small pout as Naruto began to laugh. "That's so not funny." Naruto stifled down his laughter. "I'm sorry, Yugi-chan, it was terrible. But we're almost at the gate," said Naruto as Yugito nodded her head. I know. But don't worry, I'll get you back for that later," said Yugito as Naruto let the pretty Jinchuriki down off of his back. "You going to make it in okay?" "Of course I am. When have I not? This will be too easy," said Naruto with a grin before feeling a massive presence approaching Yugito and himself at a rapid pace. Too fast for him to hide. Or maybe not. Not a second later, a large figure came crashing down in front of Naruto and Yugito clad in a cloak of lightning. Standing in that cloak of lightning with a golden belt on and cage attire was Kumogakure's Yondaime Raikage. And he wasn't looking too pleased. "Raw Raikage-sama," stammered out Yugito in surprise. "Save it, Yugito," said I as several other Kumogakure ninjas landed behind the hulking cage. "Are you hurt? And what is he doing here? He does know this is Kumo territory, correct?" As Yugito was explaining herself to her cage, Naruto stood looking at the several shinobi behind the hulking cage. That's Darui, Shi, Samui, Karui, and Omoi. 3 Jonins and 2 Chunins. Combined with a cage. I wonder what they're here for. Can't be me, I just got here," thought Naruto before being cut out of his thoughts by an angry shout. "I'm going to kill that Akatsuki bastard," shouted the redhead with golden eyes, Karui, as she took the sword off her back and charged head on at Naruto. She let down an overhead slash as Naruto backpedaled to dodge. Karui wasn't done there as she continued her assault on Naruto. "Karui, stop. He's not in the Akatsuki. Don't you recognize him? That's the Kyuubi Jinchuriki," said Omoi trying to stop his teammate. "He's a dangerous S-rank ninja in the bingo book. I know Raikage-sama is here, but even still, he's the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, a beast stronger than the Hachibi 8 tails. What if Naruto gets angry about Karui attacking him and lets loose fully? Half of Kumo could be destroyed. Or worst, Raikage-sama could get into a scrap with him and," continued Omoi thinking as Samui blew out a sigh of relief at just seeing Naruto. "Man, it seems we came out here for nothing. I guess that Akatsuki thing was false," said Darui as he looked at Yugito, who finished talking to I. "Or was it Yugito? Were they really here? Yeah, the Akatsuki came. It was only 2 of them. The travel in pairs thing is true, it seems. The last 2 I met were in pairs, Deidara and Sasori. This time it was a guy named Hidan and another named Kakazu. I only got to face Hidan due to the other not wanting to attack. I was handling myself well, I even landed several killing blows, but he just wouldn't die. He's apparently immortal. But before I could continue and actually find out, Naruto-kun appeared and they ran off scared of him. saying something like their leader doesn't want them facing him, ever. Said Yugito as I nodded his head while also letting his cloak disappear. That's good. We received word that that mission was a trap set up by them and we were on our way to save you, said I before looking out at Karui still attempting to cut Naruto into two. I'm guessing I have him to thank. Even though he shouldn't be here at the moment. Why is he here, Yugito-san? Some type of scroll to deliver. I didn't know Konoha was sending another, said she as Yugito blushed a little. Samui picked up on Shi's obliviousness to Yugito and Naruto and decided to elaborate for her friend. He's here to see his girlfriend, said Samui in a stoic voice as she, Darui, and Omoi widened their eyes. I'll kill you. How dare you try to, started Karui as she tried to slice into Naruto, only stopping halfway when she heard Samui's monotone voice. You're Yugito's boyfriend. The one she dreams about and says weird things to in her sleep. Yugito's, Foxy-kun. Naruto stopped backpedaling as he began to rub a hand awkwardly against the back of his neck. Yes, I do believe I'm that guy. But Foxy-kun, huh? Asked Naruto looking at Yugito with a smile as her face turned red from embarrassment. Naruto's smile faltered a little when he felt killing intent directed at him again as soon as Karui's killing intent left. I'll kill you, shouted she as he lunged at Naruto after running through several hand seals. Reigen Reikochu lightning illusion flash of lightning pillar. A flash bang appeared to go off behind she as Naruto was met with a blinding light. Naruto channeled some chakra immediately to break the illusion as his chakra burst cracked the ground around him. Once out of the illusion, Naruto noticed she come back into focus sprinting at him. Die! Shouted she as he was met with Naruto holding his hands in the tiger seal. As she closed in on Naruto, an eerie darkness began to shroud the surrounding land and his vision. A few feet before he reached Naruto, she could see nothing but darkness. This must be a genjutsu. While she attempted to break the genjutsu with no success, I walked over to Naruto. Thank you, Naruto. Kumo owes you a great debt. Had it not been for your intervention, Yugito could have been the next victim besides the Ikibi of Suna, said I before stretching out a fist at Naruto. Naruto nodded his head while also extending his fist to the cage. Their fists tapped together as they looked at each other for a little while before I grinned slightly. But you are on Kumo territory without permission, said I as Naruto's face became a little more serious at the unexpected comment. Since I came out here expecting to face down an S-rank opponent and you're the only one I see, it would only be justice if you and I faced each other in a spar. Naruto's face perked up at the word spar. Why would a cage want to spar with a Jonin? Questioned Naruto as I laughed slightly. You're far too humble. I've heard you're the next Hokage to be anyway and I'm far too intrigued by your skills to let you get out of this. Yugito's been telling me all about you and I want to see it for myself. Right now, said I as he took off his cage robe and tossed it back to Darui, who snagged it out of midair while keeping the same lazy expression on his face. Karui was standing beside Yugito as she blew out a snort. Is this really necessary, Reikage-sama? We already know who will win. Naruto's probably not even fast enough to hang with you, said Karui as Naruto vanished in a shunshin to appear beside Yugito. Yugi-chan, said Naruto, scaring Karui with his sudden appearance. Yugito looked up to Naruto before seeing the smile on his face. Naruto turned back to I, how about a wager? A's face perked up. A wager? Why not? What are the stakes? Said I stretching it out a little bit before the spar. I impress you and or win the spar. Yugito comes back with me to Konoha, said Naruto as I looked thoughtful for a second. If I cannot accomplish that, I stay here and become a Kumo resident instead. It's actually allowed due to the terms of our agreement. The surrounding Kumo ninjas along with Yugito's eyes widened at that wager. We'd be gaining a valuable asset if Reikage-sama takes this bet and wins. He could just knock the kid out immediately with a full-powered cloak and that'd be the end of it. But then again, Reikage-sama didn't seem surprised when Samui announced Naruto was Yugito's boyfriend, so he might actually allow Yugito to go off with her lover. This will be dull. I could be doing better things with my time, thought Darui as he looked uninterested at the proceedings. Anyone close to Darui could see the underlying intrigue because he too wanted to see Naruto's abilities firsthand. Can someone please get me out of this genjutsu? I want to see Reikage-sama kick the leaf trash's ass, said she, who was still trapped in Naruto's genjutsu. Even though he couldn't see, he could definitely hear and was hoping that he'd be able to see the spar. Wow, Naruto-kun. That's crazy. You know for a fact that you wouldn't win against Raikage-sama. And even if you could, you wouldn't because it'd cause an unnecessary power struggle between villages. Same as your fight with Gaara, thought Yugito before turning to her cage. And I'm sure Raikage-sama knows that and is already impressed with Naruto-kun. This is just really a spar in actuality, Naruto's already won the bet. This'll mean that we'll be together more often. And you know what that means. That means that the 24th of July 365, he'll be able to give it to you all the time with that huge, started Nibi before being cut off by her now flustered and red-faced Jinchuriki. I chuckled before nodding his head. You have yourself a deal. But of course, no killing or maiming blows, and the victor of the spar is given to the one who can either knock the other person unconscious or when someone gives up, said I as Naruto nodded his head. Well, let's get to it, shall we? I got all day, said Naruto, taking off his flak jacket and the black shirt he had on underneath, leaving him shirtless. Karui blushed immediately at the chiseled upper body of Naruto's along with Samui, though her blush was less noticeable than Karui's. The orange fox that adorned Naruto's right arm seemed to glow slightly as Naruto let his chakra flare along with A's. Ready when you are Raikage Dono, said Naruto getting into a fighting stance. Darui, start the spar, said I. Darui landed in between both of the shinobi as the other surrounding ninjas all backed up to a safe enough distance. Darui raised his hand before looking at both of the two to check if they were ready. Seeing them both nod their heads, Darui let his hand fall. Hajime, said Darui after jumping out of the way as a shockwave occurred from Naruto and I meeting in a clash. A's fist was blocking Naruto's kick while Naruto used both hands to block A's punch. The two then began a fast exchange of taijutsu. Spectators, I can barely see their movements, said Karui with raised eyebrows. To think that Naruto guy's taijutsu is that good to match Raikage-sama's. It's crazy. True, he's good. But Raikage-sama doesn't seem like he's going all out on him nor has he activated his lightning cloak. Once he does that, it'll be over since Naruto won't be able to handle his speed, said Omoi getting a nod from his red-haired teammate. Yeah, that's true. Raikage-sama is the fastest man alive. But then again, Naruto has his own way of dealing with faster opponents, thought Yugito as she continued to watch the two exchange blows. Finally. I can see again, said she, finally being released from the genjutsu due to Naruto's involvement with I at the moment. She then leapt over beside Yugito as his eyes were glued to the fight. Yugito-chan, how could you date one of those leaf dogs? Yugito never answered she because Samui decided to for her. You'll have to get over it. Yugito's head over heels for that guy and besides, your 12-year crush on her needs to stop. It hasn't happened since then and it probably won't happen now due to the Senju boy. Darui's lazy expression faltered a little as he perked up. You mean to tell me that when you were 12, you had a crush on an 8-year-old, said Darui as she put up placating hands. It's not like that, said she as the rest of the group looked at him as if he was a weirdo. She then heard a muffled cough from Karui that eerily sounded like, pedophile. Let's just keep watching the fight. I and Naruto, the taijutsu battle continued as I lashed out with an elbow, which Naruto ducked before rising back up with an uppercut. I moved his head slightly to dodge the fist before feeling Naruto's hand come down around the back of his neck. I felt Naruto began to tug down on him to grapple him and likely sling him away. He's pretty good. Definitely fast and his taijutsu is flawless, but he's not strong enough, thought I as he stood up at full height, lifting Naruto off the ground with ease due to his hand still being on the back of his neck. I then sent a fist into Naruto's gut, that while blocked with Naruto's other hand still sent him several feet away. Naruto landed on his feet, skidding slightly from A's punch. You'll have to be stronger than that if you want to try and toss me, said I before seeing Naruto's grin. A sizzling noise began to ring in A's ear as he finally realized what was going on. He placed an explosive note on me. How clever. Boom. The note exploded with tremendous force as debris and smoke clouded I from the rest of the people. Spectators, did he just blow up Raikage-sama? Questioned Omoi with worry. Oh no. Now that he's blown up Raikage-sama. Now we'll have to go to war with Konoha over this. And war means that eventually someone will be conquered. What if we lose and Konoha conquers us? Then I'd have to be a slave and work in the field for the rest of my life. He didn't get him. It was close but Raikage-sama's fine, said Darui as the smoke cleared. But it seems Raikage-sama is going to get serious with Naruto. He could have been killed had he not activated his jutsu. Finally, Naruto can't compete with Raikage-sama's speed, said Karui smugly as she and the rest watched the spar continue, though Omoi continued to run down a series of unfortunate events that could happen in his head. I and Naruto, that was a close one. If it wasn't for this cloak of mine, I may have actually been killed due to that. I let his lightning cloak spark even stronger as his hair stood up slightly in the back. Well then, let's see how you deal with this. I sparked across the battlefield in the blink of an eye with a fist outstretched at Naruto. I was surprised however when Naruto's head was shifted slightly to the left to dodge the huge fist. What? Questioned I before noticing Naruto's new appearance. There was an orange chakra shroud surrounding Naruto that was identical to A's, although his cloak was fierier than the cage's lightning cloak. Naruto's eyes also changed into a bright orange while a black seal appeared over his chest and stomach. You're definitely Namikaze's son. To be able to dodge my punch, he was the only one who could. Shall we continue? Questioned Naruto before lashing out with a fast kick at the hulking cage. I dodged the kick before the two began a sequence of faster-paced taijutsu that were no more than blurs to the others viewing the spar, seemingly just shock waves of orange and blue. On a path back to Konoha, hey, Sakura. Is boss coming back before we make it to Konoha? Questioned Konohamaru as he and Sakura were still walking to Konoha from their mission. They were still being followed by the sedated Kabuto on the back of Sakura's slug. And by your reaction earlier. I'm guessing he's done it before. Sakura let out an exasperated breath before answering. I should have known. Especially considering how close we were to Kumogakure. He was bound to leave and I wouldn't have been able to stop him anyway. But yeah, he'll be back before we make it to Konoha. He usually is, said Sakura as she continued to steadily walk in the presence of the youthful Konohamaru. Why Kumo? Is there something there for him? Asked Konohamaru eagerly as Sakura let out another sigh. I said earlier that his clone took his place so he could see Yugito. Yugito is Naruto's girlfriend. She happens to live in Kumo. And Naruto always goes to see her when he gets the chance. Of course, off the record and during missions most times. It's not smart either. What if something happens to us? Questioned Sakura as Konohamaru pointed a finger to his chest. I'll protect us. Don't worry, anything that happens I'll be able to handle it, said Konohamaru before Sakura said something that made his heart rise before sinking back into his chest immediately. You remember the toad Naruto sent out earlier. It was a report on how you handled yourself. You did well enough to earn his recommendation, said Sakura before bursting Konohamaru's bubble. But since you're still in Anbu in training and you took off your mask, that gets you sent to Hubby-sensei for your 2-month training regimen. Actually, you had several infractions and even one gets you sent to her, so good luck with that, said Sakura as Konohamaru deflated immediately. Naruto told him how terrible his training was because he received Hubby as his sensei and to think he'd now have to go. That should keep him quiet for the rest of the trip. Sheesh, he would never stop talking or asking questions, thought Sakura as Konohamaru placed his mask back on his face and was now internally sulking at the thought of having to go through what Naruto went through. I just hope Naruto gets back before we make it to Konoha. Tsunade Shisho will definitely be angry if he doesn't show up again. He'd better have a good excuse this time since we're only a day out. Kumo. 20 minutes passed by as Naruto and I continued to clash in a bout of taijutsu. Naruto threw out a punch that was caught at the wrist by I before he slung Naruto across the battlefield. Naruto rolled with the throw and stood up to face down the cage. You won't beat me in a taijutsu fight. If that's all you got then welcome to Kumo, said I before he noticed a series of black markings began to spread out over his body. I immediately lost control over his chakra, losing his cloak, as his body became heavy and he slunk to the ground. What is this? It's Fuinjutsu. You didn't think I was just touching you to touch you, did you? Questioned Naruto as realization began to dawn on I from him touching his neck when he placed on that explosive tag, all the palm open blocks and when he flipped him over his head just now. Naruto placed his hands in the snake seal. Mokuton. Jukai Koden wood style, Nativity of a sea of trees, said Naruto as trees began to spring up everywhere around him. Gargantuan trees were being brought forth out of the ground at a rapid pace toward the immobilized cage. The trees smashed into the cage as they planted him firmly into the ground with tremendous force. Naruto looked out at the downed cage before smiling. He's good. I wonder how long I'd been fighting a clone. Probably in that explosion from the earlier explosive note, thought Naruto, seeing the cage disperse into lightning, signifying a clone. PFFT, what did you expect? All of these cages are good, if not then they wouldn't deserve the title of cage, said Kurama in Naruto's head. Well, you do realize that one day I may become Hokage, does that mean that I'll be good? Replied Naruto in his head. Naruto heard a loud snort in return from Kurama. Ha, the only hard part about beating you would be trying to get your mashed up body off the soles of my paws. Naruto internally laughed. That was actually good. I'd have a rebuttal, but I have a cage taking up all my concentration, thought Naruto back as he turned to the left to see Ai nodding his head in the distance. Nice skills, but you should really notice when you're battling a clone. Naruto laughed, remembering he told Konohamaru the same when they were battling Orochimaru. Ai then brought his hands up in the ram seal. Ai let off a massive burst of lightning that looked more like an expanding bomb detonating around him. The lightning bomb began to tear up the surrounding landscape and trees created by Naruto as it pushed its way toward the young Kyuubi Jinchuriki. That's impressive, said Naruto before biting his thumb and slamming it into the ground. Kuchios. Yonju Rashomon, summoning. Quadruple Rashomon, thought Naruto as a series of 4 gigantic demonic gates sprung from the ground in front of him. The Raikage's jutsu hit the first gate as it mauled its way through it before being stopped by the second of the gigantic gates. Orochimaru must suck at making these gates because he used 3 and Kurama mauled straight through them. The Raikage's jutsu looked powerful as hell, stronger than Kurama's, and I only needed 2, said Naruto before feeling a massive spike in chakra. Here he comes and I'm sure he'll be able to take down the remaining 3. I have to time this right. Naruto was correct in his assessment of Ai's intent as he noticed his second gate come tumbling down along with his third, and he could see the makings of cracks in his last remaining gate. Naruto ran through 2 hand seals ending on Tiger as he prepped his jutsu. A tiny spark of lightning popped through the gate as Naruto deemed the time was now. I came smashing through the last gate, clad in his lightning cloak, with a fist outstretched. This is my father's Jigokuzuki, Hell Stab. The strongest attack, there's nothing that he can do about this. It's over, thought I before coming to a complete stop, nearly giving him whiplash due to the abrupt halt. What? Questioned I before feeling himself sink into the ground. I looked down and took notice of the thick, murky swamp underneath him. Across from him, equally sinking into the ground was Naruto. Doten. Yomi Numa, swamp of the underworld, said Naruto as I looked up at the smiling kid in front of him. Worked like a charm. I looked out at the confident boy in front of him, that disappeared in a poof of smoke to reveal the same boy standing just on the end of the swamp with his hands in the snake seal. Mokuten. Hote no Jutsu, wood style. Laughing Buddha technique, said Naruto as from underneath the swamp, an enormous hand appeared ready to smash the cage further into the swamp. I grinned at the competition being provided by the young golden-haired Konoha ninja. I haven't had this much fun with an opponent since Namikaze. You are indeed impressive, thought I as he powered up his lightning cloak to 100%. Once fully charged up, I burst out of the swamp with ease, avoiding the open palm smash of the wooden hand created by Naruto. I stood menacingly opposing Naruto. It's been fun, Naruto, but I'm afraid this spar has to come to a close. You'll have my answer when you wake up whether you won the wager or not. Until the time, Namikaze. Said I, now behind Naruto. Naruto's eyes widened before closing due to the chop to the neck from Ai, who had to be careful not to damage Naruto due to the velocity of the chop. The last thing Naruto saw was Yugito's smiling face before succumbing to unconsciousness. One day later, just outside of Konoha, Sakura and Konohamaru had stopped in a clearing for the night before heading out again to get to Konoha by the end of the day. Kabuto was still tied up to the back of Sakura's slug and still being continuously sedated by the slug summoned to keep him from moving. Sakura-san, came the voice of Saru behind his mask as he walked next to Sakura and her slug. It seems Naruto-senpai is still not here and we are all but just in Konoha. What should we do? Sakura was prepared to answer before an enormous smoke cloud appeared in the path in front of them. Konohamaru immediately went on the defensive by positioning himself in between the cloud and Sakura while Sakura did nothing but continue to walk forward without a change in pace. I got this. I got this. Whoever it is. Calm yourself, Konohamaru. You were beating Orochimaru for Kami's sake. Granted, boss was there helping, but you still did most of the work. You can do this, thought Saru as, from the smoke cloud, a massive amount of confetti came shooting out of it, along with fireworks and streamers. What? Stammered Saru, surprised by the display of an enormous toad holding a thumbs up at him. On top of that toad were two figures, one holding a crazy pose with a thumbs up identical to the toad while the other had a hand covering her face in complete shame at what appeared to be over the other figure. From a land filled with leaves. He's the fox with 1,000 skills. The sage with mastery over vegetation. And the Jinchuriki with the prettiest cat for a lover. He's Naruto of Konoha, shouted Naruto with a smile as he was now in the nice guy pose, teeth sparkle and all. Oh, we nailed it this time, Kichi. Gamakichi, the toad Naruto was standing on, was also in the nice guy pose now as his poses changed identical to Naruto's as he went on his spiel. Gamakichi's own sparkle shined bright as he grinned in agreement with Naruto. Damn right, bro. All those hours of practicing finally paid off. Well, it's been fun getting you back here on time. Until next time. Bye, Yugito-chan. You should come by Mount Myoboku sometime. Ma and Pa really want to meet you, said Gamakichi before disappearing in a poof of smoke, allowing Yugito and Naruto to land on the ground in front of Saru and Sakura. Boss. That was awesome, came the uncharacteristic of an Anbu shout by Saru at the display he just witnessed, completely forgetting that he was going to go off on Naruto for ratting him out about his infractions and getting him sent to hubby for training. Naruto had a cheesy grin on as he sat and ate compliment after compliment from his most loyal fan. While this was going on, Sakura just continued to walk and eventually was joined by Yugito, who still had a hand covering her face. Hey Yugito-san, said Sakura with a slight smile as Yugito lowered her hand to smile back. Hey, Sakura. Please tell me Naruto-kun doesn't introduce himself like that every time, questioned Yugito. Sakura nodded her head and Yugito brought her hand back up to her face. That's so embarrassing, I can't imagine how you feel having to go through that. I've only seen it once and it was too much for me. Sakura and Yugito continued to walk before Sakura decided to pose a question. Hey, Yugito-san. Not to be rude or anything, but why are you here with Naruto in the first place? Did you have a scroll to deliver? Asked Sakura as Yugito lowered her hand to reach into the ninja pouch behind her. She then pulled out a scroll from her pouch and handed it to Sakura. Sakura looked hesitant to open it, but the nod from Yugito encouraged her to read its contents. Sakura unraveled the scroll and opened it before reading its contents. Once finished, she looked back at the smiling Yugito. You're moving to Konoha, shouted Sakura with surprise as Yugito nodded her head jovially. How did this happen? Well, Naruto got into a spar with Raikage-sama and they had a little wager, said Yugito as she began to retell the events that occurred since Naruto disappeared to go and see her. Flashback: one day ago. Naruto awoke 30 minutes later in unfamiliar territory. Well, in not really as unfamiliar as it should be territory. Yugito's bed, so that would mean that I'm in Yugito's home, which is inside of Yugito's village, which is Kumogakure. Thought Naruto as he sat up in Yugito's bed and rubbed the back of his neck. Raikage Dono can hit hard. Boss owes me for this, said Naruto as Yugito was entering the room, fondling her boobs. I don't owe you anything at all. You're a clone. That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, you're made of my chakra in the first place, so get over it, said Yugito as she dispelled the Naruto clone. You know what, Yugito, I swear your boobs have gotten bigger since the last time I saw you. Don't you agree? Inside of Yugito's head, Naruto stood opposing her and Matabi as she was helplessly watching Naruto make her fondle herself due to his control over her. This jutsu is ingenious, Naruto-kun. And the way you use it is incredible. What is it called again? Came the voice of Yugito's Biju, Matabi. Oh, this jutsu. It's Gamadera, Kujiyatsuri no Jutsu, Toad Flatness, Shadow Manipulation Technique, said Naruto back to the towering being of pure chakra. Though I will be losing control here pretty soon since I can't hold my breath for much longer. After saying that, Naruto was firmly ejected from Yugito's mind and Yugito was given back control once again of her body. She turned her head back to see her shadow coming out of the ground. Except it began to turn into Naruto. I really dislike that jutsu, said Yugito as she shook out her body to get the chills out of it from being controlled like that. Well, I couldn't just lose to your cage now, could I? But then again, I really couldn't win either. So I went with the next best option and just used a wood clone. He never even noticed, and if he did, he didn't care enough to acknowledge it. Plus it's even better, I got what I wanted, said Naruto with a smile at the last part. Yugito smiled back. And what was that? Questioned Yugito back as Naruto continued to inch forward toward her. Well, started Naruto as he closed in on Yugito's lips. Oi! Shouted a clone of Naruto's in the doorway, ending Yugito and Naruto's moment. How come you get all the loving while we have to do all the packing and stuff? Naruto grew a tick mark on the back of his head at his clone as he turned around. Why are you guys getting so angry and rebellious against me lately? I mean, it's crazy, I'm your creator, said Naruto as his clone dropped the pair of scrolls he held that contained some of Yugito's belongings. I apologize, boss. I'm just sad that you gave Naruto 1C lingerie duty, said the clone as they turned to see a clone buried in a pile of Yugito's skimpy attire, frolicking about in the pile of sexy undergarments. I see. Don't worry, I'll handle this, said Naruto as he walked over to the pile with the clone in it. All Narutos take a break and join the party. One item per clone only. I, being the boss and original, get the rest. The Narutos all nodded their heads at the plan as they moved to grab their own. While this was occurring, Yugito stood with an even bigger tick mark on her head as she watched some of the Narutos fight over a pair of panties. While I am quite the pervert, I do agree with you, please end this, said Matabi in Yugito's head as Yugito happily obliged. Yugito's nails extended before she unleashed righteous fury upon all of the whiskered blondes before making the original Naruto finish up her packing, no clones allowed this time. End flashback, and after that, Naruto-kun and I made haste to come here. He summoned his toad and we got here in one day, said Yugito. Sakura nodded her head. Wow, that's bold of Naruto. And crazy of your cage to just allow that. For him to be so willing to give up a Jinchuriki like that is amazing of him. He must really care about your happiness to allow you to just leave with Naruto like that. True, he has been like a father to me, so I'm guessing he was really just looking out for me, said Yugito before she put the scroll back in her ninja pouch. But then again, this will also cement our alliance and we'll be more of friends than before. There could be true peace between our villages and Naruto probably knew that. Of course I did, sweetheart, said an excited Naruto behind Yugito before picking her up bridal style. Welcome to Konoha, Yugi-chan. Naruto planted a juicy kiss on Yugito. Pausing for a moment after the kiss, Yugito smiled and gave Naruto a nod. That was perfect. Naruto nodded his head in agreement before they disappeared in a shunshin, leaving Saru and Sakura at the gate. Was that Naruto and his girlfriend? Questioned one of the gate guards. Yes, it was. I'm not sure where they disappeared to, but they better be in Tsunade's office by the time we get there, said Sakura as she handed her mission scroll to the man. The guard nodded his head before handing the scroll back to Sakura. Well, I'll see you later, Sakura-san, and Saru. Good luck. Sakura nodded and began to walk away. The gate guard then took notice of the slug trailing behind the medic. Wait, is that Kabuto on the back of that slug? He only received light snores as an answer due to his partner being knocked out asleep. Lazy ass. He should be more proud of what we're doing. We guard Konoha and are its first line of defense. Well, besides the Anbu and Border Patrol. And our sensory squad. But the fourth line is still important, thought the gate guard in his head before sitting down. Well, actually Naruto just absolutely bypassed the gate without me being able to do anything to stop him. I'll have to work harder and make sure that doesn't happen again. I can't let that youngster disrespect me, I've been a ninja longer than he has. But he is a Jonin and I heard he was an Anbu captain. But still, he needs to respect me. Don't need another Jiraiya walking around here. 15 minutes later, Hokage's office come in. Came the voice of Tsunade as she heard a knock on her door. Tsunade looked up to see her student and Saru enter her office and smiled at their presence. Wait, where's Naruto? He didn't leave you all again, did he? Sakura was about to answer before a strong breeze flew through the office. The cause of the breeze made his presence known immediately. What Ba-chan? Why would I do that? Questioned Naruto as he now stood in Tsunade's office via Shunshin. Naruto, you have to stop leaving your teammates like that. What if they get ambushed while you're away? You could have taken them with you. Well, if I was away, which I'm not saying that I was, Saru could handle it well enough. Plus, why do you keep insinuating that I left them? Asked Naruto as Tsunade blew out a sigh. Hi, Yugito-chan. From behind Naruto, Yugito peered out at the busty cage. Hi Tsunade Dono, nice to meet you again, said Yugito as Tsunade smiled at the pretty blonde Jinchuriki. That doesn't prove anything. She could have just come of her own free will, said Naruto before Tsunade noticed something off about the two of them. Naruto, why is there a claw mark ripped through the middle of your shirt? You're also missing a shoe while Yugito's hair and ponytail are all messed up, plus she doesn't even have pants on, said Tsunade as the two of them grew red in the face. Couldn't wait. I mean it couldn't have been more than 15 minutes since you've gotten here. You know what, never mind, just give me the rundown of the mission. Naruto stood at attention after coughing. Team Naruto reporting back from their ranked mission to Tenchi Bridge. Mission status success. At the bridge, I transformed myself into Sasori to meet with the spy. The spy approached me on the bridge and I proceeded to receive intel about Orochimaru's bases and on a ranked nuke nin, Sasuke Uchiha. However, before I could get any more, Orochimaru appeared and that's when the tables turned. It turns out that Sasori's spy was Kabuto Yakushi and he was on Orochimaru's side from the beginning. So we really cannot take any of his information seriously due to him attacking me in the first place. A battle ensued afterward with us dispatching Kabuto relatively easily and defeating Orochimaru afterward. Tsunade nodded her head before she posed another question. I'm guessing Sakura you took Kabuto to the torture and interrogation department. Seeing Sakura nod, Tsunade posed another question. You defeated Orochimaru, does that mean that he is dead, or did he get away? Of course he's dead. Naruto blew his head off with a Rasengan, thought Saru in his head. Despite the condition he was in as we left, I'm certain that Orochimaru lived, said Naruto as he let a hand comb through his hair. As he did that, he made a series of quick hand seals to Tsunade that were unnoticed by the rest of the group. Tsunade nodded her head at Naruto. Well, good job team. Despite not making sure Orochimaru was incapacitated, at least you got his right-hand man. I'm calling this mission a success. Saru and Sakura you're dismissed, said Tsunade as Sakura and Saru both left the office, leaving Yugito and Naruto alone with Tsunade. It seems your other mission was a success as well, said Tsunade with a smile at Yugito. Naruto was smiling as well as Yugito looked at the two confused. You had another mission? Questioned Yugito as Naruto nodded. Yes ma'am. It was to pick up a package, said Naruto as he pulled out a scroll from his ninja pouch, that was still attached to his hip even after his earlier escapade with Yugito. Yugito opened the scroll and read its contents. Wow, me coming to Konoha was already planned. Tsunade nodded her head still smiling. Raikage Dono and I have already been discussing this. And this is the result, welcome to Konoha. That's amazing, said Yugito before she realized something. She then turned to Naruto who was creeping slowly out the room. You weren't spontaneous at all. Naruto laughed sheepishly before performing a shunshin next to Tsunade. Sorry Ba-chan, I got to go. I'll give you my written report later, said Naruto giving Tsunade a cheek kiss before disappearing in another shunshin. Get back here, shouted Yugito as she went flying out of the window after the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. It seems things are going to get livelier around here, said Tsunade with a smile. Yugito's still only wearing panties. Well, at least the men of the village will be excited at her introduction. Somewhere in the land of grass, a small candle was illuminating a dark room as a figure could be seen seated at a throne. A series of coughs rang out before a laugh followed shortly afterward. It's time. 1 week and Sasuke will be mine. Cuckoo, said the figure as his golden, slitted eyes opened up. Sasuke was seated with his legs crossed and his eyes closed in the middle of a room far away from the snake Sanin. Sasuke opened his eyes to reveal his Mangekyo Sharingan. So it seems it's time. Naruto, you better be here. I need you for what I plan to accomplish. I'm sure you'll bring Sakura with you along with those other ones. Not to mention, I'm sure she'll be here, said Sasuke before standing up and walking out of the room to prepare for the week at hand. Hidden location, the Yonbi, Four Tails, has been successfully captured, said the spectral image of the leader of the Akatsuki. Kakazu and Hidan will go after the Gobi in a week. We will reconvene then for the sealing of the Five Tails. Dismissed. The other members of the Akatsuki departed the chamber. After they were all gone, a vortex opened up beside the leader. Is it time? Questioned the leader. The figure nodded his head. Shall we be going? It'll take you a week to recover from this surgery and we only have a week before the Gobi gets sealed, said the figure as he then vanished into another swirl. The leader's rippled purple eyes seemed to shine brightly in the darkness before a small smile graced his face. This will definitely help. Your time will come soon, Kyubi, said the leader as his own spectral image vanished into the darkness, leaving only the dead body of the Yonbi's Jinchuriki in the room. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like for more what ifs and support the author. See you guys in the next video.